Guys, welcome in. I wanted to do a full breakdown, position by position, why I expect Ohio State to have a top 3 defense in 2022. Now, of course, guys, we are expected to have the number 1 offense again after finishing first in points per game, yards per play, yards per game last year. It should only get even better. I'm expecting Ohio State to score around 50 points per game and lead the nation, but nobody's talking about the defense. And really, this is such an amazing situation for Jim Knowles to be in, because I could take over this defense and they would be improved from 2021 to now, just based off of the ridiculous recruiting Ohio State had on the defensive side of the ball in 2021. Many of those kids will be playing a ton. Many of them are going to be sophomores. We're going to go position by position group and talk about why Ohio State will be vastly improved on the defensive side of the ball. And of course, that's only going to help Jim Knowles with recruiting. And, there is a little bit of a question mark with Jim Knowles and his ability to recruit when you basically dedicate yourself to one player in a cycle, Tackett Curtis, and then he goes to USC. There's some concern, but overall, this defense should be improved. And position group by position group, we're going to take a look at the pass rush. And the first two guys, JTT and Jack Sawyer. I mean, what more can you say? This is a dynamic duo, 2 top 5 players from the class of 2021. They both played sparingly as true freshmen, but I'm expecting both of them to step up and play at least 60 to 70% of the snaps. And then, guys, I talked about JTT last year. I think he's got Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year potential. Jack Sawyer is going to be an absurd compliment. And they do still have Zach Harrison returning, who I think is underrated by a lot of Ohio State fans because he doesn't get the counting stats, but he is a guy that has a really elite pressure rate. He's going to have another year. He's going to be very motivated. This is it for Zach. He's a senior. He knows he has to play well. For the NFL right now, he's projected to be like a 3rd or a 4th round pick. He's going to be really motivated. So that's 3 elite pass rushers. I'm expecting JTT 9 or 10 sacks, Jack Sawyer 9 or 10 sacks, Zach Harrison at least 5 or 6 sacks. It's going to be a ridiculously improved unit from a year ago. And then you talk about the interior defensive line. I outlined this guy yesterday, Tyleik Williams, another man that was part of that 2021 class, a little bit underrated outside of the top 100 in the composite. He is a guy that Ohio State has been waiting to have for many years, an elite, big defensive tackle that not only can clog up rushing lanes, but he can also pressure the quarterback, which is extremely rare. And then you've got another guy, Michael Hall Jr., who was a top 100 defensive tackle. We expect to see him rotate in there. Taron Vincent, the veteran. With Taron, he's a rotational player. It's been a little bit tough for him. He's back. He was a former 5-star. We haven't seen the production from him necessarily, but he still is a rotational player. So the defensive line, when you look at the pass rushers along with the interior, it's just going to be ridiculously improved. It's not even close. And we talked about the linebackers yesterday, how important it was. Steele Chambers, we're hoping for a breakout year. He played so well down the stretch. Many people are very optimistic on Tommy Eichenberg's potential, another linebacker who had 17 tackles in the Rose Bowl. And then, of course, the guy I want to outline in the 2022 class, C.J. Hicks. C.J. Hicks is the one true freshman who I think will see significant playing time for Ohio State on the defensive side of the ball. This is your modern-day superstar hybrid athlete linebacker who can cover tight ends. He's athletic enough to, make different plays, be sent in on blitz packages. He's an absolute heat-seeking missile. He's a beast. I wouldn't be surprised if he started to get significant playing time by mid-season or even earlier than that as a true freshman. We've seen Ohio State, start a true freshman like Denzel Burke last year, so maybe even earlier. But I think the linebackers you're looking at, it's not so much going to be Cody Simon or people like that. It's going to be more Eichenberg, Steele Chambers, and then C.J. Hicks as well. And the linebacking group is going to be vastly improved as long as we need Steele Chambers to be that stud. If Steele Chambers can be that stud with Eichenberg complementing him, and then you have C.J. Hicks who has all of the God-given talent to come in mid-season and really start producing. I know it's a lot to ask as a true freshman, but we've seen guys do that before. The linebackers are going to be vastly improved. You're taking a look at the cornerbacks. Of course, Denzel Burke, amazing true freshman season. He had the rough game against Michigan, but it's whatever. He's a true freshman. You're going to have games like that. He was injured. Overall, Denzel Burke with the pass defenses. It's so rare to see a true freshman start and have success at the cornerback position. Normally, that's a position that takes a year to grow into your body. But guys, Denzel Burke was actually the third highest rated cornerback in the class of 2021. J.K. Johnson and Jordan Hancock are two other guys that I expect to really compete for the cornerback 2 position. You've also got Cam Brown coming back, returning. He's more of a slot cornerback in my estimation. But either way, Denzel Burke obviously is only going to get better with more experience as a sophomore. And then the CB2, I'm expecting J.K. Johnson and Jordan Hancock, 2 top 100 players. These players were wanted by basically everyone. One of those guys should step up, and the cornerbacks should be improved as well. A lot of depth at all these positions. That's what we're seeing. It's such a great situation right now for Jim Knowles to really step in, and he doesn't even have to do anything. These kids are just going to be better than they were last year because they have more experience, because Ohio State is playing more talented players, because the 2021 defensive class was so unbelievable. So I think Jim Knowles is a really good defensive coach, but it doesn't even matter. The defense in general, just because they're getting more experience, is going to be better. And then talking about the safeties, that's probably the one position there's a little bit of a question mark about. You know, Josh Proctor is a guy we all like. Unfortunately, he suffered season-ending injuries the last 2 years, mainly due to his tackling technique. He kind of just throws himself at players. If you watch his injuries, it all has to do with technique. So hopefully Josh Proctor gets coached up a little bit to where he can tackle and not injure himself, because he is a guy that you'd really like to have back there as kind of a heat-seeking safety. And then at the other safety position, it'll be interesting. You know, with Jim Knowles, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm hoping Jim Knowles can identify, it's nothing against Ronnie Hickman, but I think Ronnie Hickman is more of a backup, in my opinion. I don't think he makes any impact plays. Sure, he makes tackles, but I'm just not seeing the overall impact. And a guy I would look at is another kid that actually was injured last year, so I believe he's going to be a redshirt freshman. The guy I'm looking at is Jansen Dunn, who suffered a major injury last year. We're hoping he's coming back and progressing. He is a guy I really could see breaking out at the other safety position. Very similar type recruit to Denzel Burke. Now, obviously, Burke was a quarterback and Dunn is a safety, but if you've got Dunn and Proctor back as your 2 safeties and Proctor stays healthy, I think that's a big improvement with the safety positions. So, guys, they've also got a few guys in the transfer portal, including, a player that Jim Knowles took from Oklahoma State. So, overall, the defense is going to be significantly improved. I'll say my expectations minimum, this is minimum expectations, top 10 in points allowed per game, top 10 in yards allowed per game. That's minimum. I'm thinking they could be top 3 at the very best, depending on how many of these kids progress. Especially the pass rushers like Jack Sawyer and JTT, the interior. This defense is absolutely loaded. And the overall point I was thinking of, again, it was so pathetic last year with the defensive staff, with Kerry Combs. Ryan Day knows he made a mistake. He was a young coach. He realizes it. He goes out and gets an elite defensive mind to coach these young guys and put them in the right position. And, of course, even if Kerry Combs was still the defensive coordinator, of course, we're glad he's not. The defense, my overall point, the defense inevitably is going to be improved because of the 2021 ridiculous, elite defensive recruiting class, and we've already seen guys like Denzel Burke step up as true freshmen. He's going to be an asset for Ohio State over the next 2 years, and then he'll very likely go off to the NFL. And then as a true freshman, I would say C.J. Hicks. As for Sonny Styles, I wouldn't expect much from him. He is a kid that did reclassify, which I'm normally never a fan of. So he really should be a high school senior. I understand why kids reclassify. I just would say grow into your body. And when you come in as a true freshman, actually, be a true freshman. So really, Sonny Styles right now should be a high school senior. So it's tough to really get playing time in a situation like that, especially with Ohio State and their defensive situation. But he's a rover and he is a beast. Guys, I'll talk about Sonny Styles. Before Sonny Styles reclassified in the class of 2023, he was on track to be a top 5 player in the nation. I'm not even kidding. He reclassified to 2022 and his rating went down a little bit. He was a superstar. He would have been a top 5 player easily in the class of 2023. He should be in the 2023 class. I understand reclassifying, but he's a guy I would say probably not going to get a lot of playing time. He has to grow into his body. But the overall point when looking at this defense, my expectations are extremely high. A lot of people are sleeping on them. They're not focusing on the defense. People from other conferences, they don't realize the talent that Ohio State has and the unique situation that happened last year that caused for such a bad defense to be put on the field. I mean, you fired your defensive coordinator a few weeks into the season. Those are unique circumstances, and it's fair to say that's an aberration. It's an aberration. It was a bad year. They're back this year, and I'm expecting a minimum of a top 10 defense. We're expecting the offense to be number 1 in the nation. That's not even a question. But the defense, top 10, possibly top 5, maybe even top 3. And then people say you're just a homer. No, if you actually look and see how good these kids are, how good their recruiting ranking was, how they're developing, Jack Sawyer flashed last year. JTT flashed last year. Denzel Burke was amazing last year. We're hoping to get Josh Proctor back. Tyleek Williams flashed. Mike Hall is going to be a force in the middle. Zach Harrison returns. Tommy Eichenberg flashed towards the end of last year. Steele Chambers flashed towards the end of last year. You've got a linebacker prospect we've never had in C.J. Hicks, who was a top 10 player in the nation. Unbelievable athlete. He'll be playing by midseason. We're seeing with our eyes before it actually happens what's going to happen, and the people are going to be they're going to be shocked. Ohio State has such an elite defense in 2022 when all you have to do is just look and see the future. And Ohio State, this is the year, guys. The recruiting is not going well. We have to win a title this year. I've said that before. 2022, it's got to happen. Alabama is it's not good with the recruiting. We understand that. So let's win the title this year. The team is stacked. You have the Heisman favorite quarterback. You have a top 2 running back in the nation. You have the best receiver in the nation. You have a young defense that I just detailed should be a top 5 defense. This is the year. This has got to be the year. So hopefully it happens. We've been waiting, and hopefully it happens now. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.